Learning Go is a confusing experience for people. When people are learning to play, we often sit them down and give them long explanations, and then their eyes glaze over because they can't take in so much information. What I want to say is that it's not people's fault that they lose attention when explained to from the bottom up in this way. Instead, I think it's my fault as the teacher that they end up in this position. There is a way to get people up and running playing the game very, very fast, and that's playing Capture Go. The idea is that whoever captures the first stone wins. Let me explain. I've actually taught lots of people how to play Go. And so when I did, everybody would sit down and they'd be ready to play, and then they would say, okay, well, explain to me the rules. And I would explain territory and liberties and life and death and stuff like this, and it would be very difficult to get them up and running. This is probably a universal experience when it comes to teaching Go. If you ever try to teach Go without teaching Capture Go first, then you know what I'm talking about, from first-hand experience. When they did get up and running, they wouldn't have the confidence in order to continue learning the game on their own. So it meant that if I had a decently sized group of roughly 8-ish people, which I did have at one point, then everybody needed my help at once. That made it very difficult to support everybody. There was all sorts of confusion, like why one eye was allowed to be captured, why was that possible, and then don't even explain code. That would just get people really, really messed up. And even understanding basic things like territory was quite difficult. If you want an understanding as to why that is, then I've made that in a previous video. All of this drains people's will to play the game because it takes too long for them to get set up and running. There's another problem as well, in that it gets people focused on territory, when actually territory isn't the most basic or the most important thing in Go. It's capture. The best part is that in Capture Go, capture is literally put front and center. It's literally the name of the game. This not only allows people to start playing the game immediately, but it gives them a lot of really, really fast feedback. In the span that you could play roughly a game of chess, you might be able to play 5 or 6 games of Capture Go, which is really great for hitting those dopamine reward centers and getting people really fast feedback. It also builds people's confidence because it teaches them that failure is fine. All you do is start the next game, instead of it being this really long failure mode that's really difficult to work past. It also teaches a lot of really important concepts, like having good and strong shape so that you're not too thin so that you're liable to get captured, but that you shouldn't play too slowly, otherwise you'll never capture your opponent's stones. It also teaches you not to play at the very edges of the board, because at the very edges of the board you have fewer liberties, and so you're more likely to get captured. You'll also be exposed to some basic Tsuji and some basic sequences that you see commonly on 9x9 boards. There are some other really important things as well. For instance, Ko is game end. This means that Ko is less likely to be formed in the game because it's likely to end it, and so there's no incentive to create a Ko. So that stops beginners from creating this bulge shape all over the board that is liable to create a Ko position. This is useful because then when they learn the full game, then they're able to form Ko shapes in an intentional way, as opposed to just creating them all over the place and making things even more complicated and so on. Another important thing as well is that if the players see a group that has one eye, their instinct is to capture it, because there's nothing that cannot be captured in Capture Go unless you form 2 eyes, but they usually don't get that far. They usually just end the game by capturing before that happens. But you can see how that's important, because it explains why 2 eyes should be alive and why 1 eye shouldn't, because if it's still 1 eye, you should still be able to capture it. If you approach this using territory, then that's not very obvious, because there's a rule that says that if you put a stone inside of a single eye, then both the groups have no liberties, and so one of them gets priority over the other. But if you play Capture Go, then the instinct is just to capture, and so the players understand that way more intuitively coming at it from that direction. So not only does this get this people confident in playing the game and having fun way faster, but then the parts of the game that you need in order to learn territory are a lot easier to learn. That meant that I could then spend less time helping each individual board to play the game. It meant that I could spend time focusing on a couple of people and let other people just explore on their own, which is just way better. It's also useful because, for instance, in Seong says that some people have the Go gene, where they capture a stone and they fall in love with the game, because who doesn't love capturing stones? Or at least I can't empathize with somebody who doesn't. The point is that if you can then get people hooked on that, then they have a lot more tolerance for explaining and getting through the theory and everything. But the point is that you don't want to spend a lot of time teaching that theory until they are ready to ask a question, and then you only explain just so much so that people can understand. So if you're learning Go, I would highly recommend just grabbing a friend and just playing some Capture Go. You'll have way more fun than if you just start playing a game on a 19x19 board and then have trouble scoring the game. But if you're teaching the game to others, as you should as well, because we need more people playing this game, then I highly recommend that you start with playing Capture Go first, because you're more likely to get them into the game. A really interesting detail is that actually the Go servers that we have don't actually support Capture Go. And so for the big Go servers like OGN, I would really recommend implementing it so that beginners are directed to playing Capture Go before playing with the full rule set. I would think that would make a really big difference in terms of bringing new players into the game. But yeah, that's basically my quick message for the day. If you're interested in learning how to play Go, I created a full Go course, completely free of charge, and you should go check it out because that will help you getting up and running very, very fast. Keep learning, keep growing. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.